Okay, the deadline is up for Block 1 voting. Here are the results. See if there's some differences here. Some, as you can see. Got the media poll, which is done by the NDL media team, and then everyone is included in the coaches poll. So Oklahoma won in both, Tennessee 2 in both. You've got LSU and Florida. Florida 3 in the media, LSU 3 in the coaches, and then vice versa. CU 5, Georgia 6. And then we start to get some differences. So looking at the media poll first, you've got South Carolina at 7, Notre Dame 8, Texas 9, Iowa, Oregon, UCF. Then we get some similarities. You can see in the coaches poll, the same teams, just different order. You've got Iowa 7 instead of 10 in the media, South Carolina 8 instead of 7 in the media, Notre Dame 9 versus 8, and then Texas 10 versus 9. And then some similar teams. You see 12 is a match, UCF, 13 Clemson, 14 Louisville, 15 Ohio State, 16 Connecticut, 17 SDSU, and then we start to get some differences. So, each team, you've got Utah in the coaches poll, they're 20 in the media. Miami 19 in the coaches poll, 22 in the media. Chip and Central Michigan 20 versus 19. Auburn matching at 21. Kentucky 22 versus 18. Ole Miss 23 versus 24. Florida State 24 versus 23, and then two different teams for 25. Vandy and Doof at 25 in the coaches poll, Arkansas, and T-Fan 25. And then you can see the others receiving votes. You've got Vanderbilt, which was right behind at 26. Wisconsin, Texas A&M. Obviously, there's not going to be many because there just aren't many. No, there's not as many media members. Got Tulane down there. We got one vote. Cool. Coach's side, Penn State sitting at 26. Arkansas sits at 27. Bama out. Wisconsin close. I had them in my top 25. Colorado State, that huge upset of Alabama, getting them up there. Duke, not surprised to see him up there. He beat me. I'm sure he's going to have a good season. Going down here, we got Boise with 32 points. On this side, Tulane definitely have some work to do. We were, I think, like 28 or 29, but that loss to Duke hurt us a lot. We dropped 5 points. Maybe we would have been up a little bit higher had we at least had a better showing against Duke. If we win, I think being 2-0 and being that close, we probably end up making it. So looking at the media polls, see there's 9. Some difference of opinion here. You've got the actual media poll at the top, Oklahoma. And then you can see here, you got 6 votes for Oklahoma, 3 for LSU. I'm sorry, 5 for Oklahoma, count, proper math. 3 for LSU, 1 for Tennessee. And then just kind of going down the list here. Kentucky sitting at 8 here with 6 feet. Nothing that really stands out. It's like most are pretty similar. The top 10 for the most part, minus that one Kentucky vote's the same for all. What else do we got here? I'm gonna assume the Air Force is probably an Alabama vote by accident. There's the vote there from FSU Penguins, so that's her 1 vote. Ole Miss, nervous for him. He beat his dad. As someone who played games against my dad, hopefully he didn't get grounded. Hey, I'm just saying it has happened before. Pretty hilarious, but always cool to see. All joking aside, it's always cool to see father play son. So it's a nice rivalry to see. Coach Bowl, a little different. So Doug gets the distinction of having the closest match. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a bit down here. How far down? Oh God, 107 points off. So kind of a little behind the middle pack. I don't feel so like, geez. I didn't feel like my vote was so bad. I think it's more because if I'm gonna look probably in some detail here, there's probably people that got punished for not playing games. my guess, but it's really hard for me to punish someone for not playing this early in the season. And I think some might have gotten missed because it's like, oh, well, they're only 1-0, or they haven't played a game yet. Well, they may not have even had anyone to play because there is no one for block 1. I went through it yesterday. There were some teams that were 1-0 only because they had one game played, so, or one game to play. So I would say the first couple of polls are hard. It's once we get to the middle of the season where teams are at about the same amount of games played, it becomes a little bit easier. If someone's not playing their games, it's easy to see they're not playing their games, versus early on, there's a lot of factors. Hey, I just got a new team. Maybe I'm trying to get more scrimmages in before I actually start playing games. Or, hey, the season started, I just don't have great availability, trying to get back in the rhythm of playing games, so it takes a little bit of time. But Dub and UNC Heal, they're both sub 40 in terms of difference, so GG's to them. And you can see probably going to be a few missed votes here. A couple of different teams with #1 votes. Got UConn with 1, CU with 1, Notre Dame with 1. Notre Dame had 2 very impressive wins too, 2 ranked wins, so that's very impressive. OU, Jiggy, reigning champ. Tennessee, I was about to say Texas. Georgia. There's a lot of teams you could vote #1. But looking through, I'm just trying to see if there's some teams that got some, some of the other votes here. You got Bama still in some polls. Kentucky makes you wonder. And they were 1-0, but we also got to see Kentucky play against Georgia before the block closed for the game day game. A really, really good game. A very painful finish to that game for both players involved. A lot of work had to go just to be able to get back to the point in overtime, but a really good game. Old Dominion, I have a feeling Marion will move up in some polls as the season goes on. Colorado State getting some votes. I said a big win against Bama. That's huge. Vandy with a good coach. Boise, Ashton still doing Ashton things, still difficult to stop. Some teams with losses that are still up there. Miami, Penn State only have 1 game, I believe. Duke, nice to see him. Obviously, Duke is on my radar. I'll get to see how he does going forward just a little bit. Any other new teams? TCU up there with 6 feet. Like to see that. I always like to see teams that have good starts get some love in the polls. Georgia Tech, a 25 vote there. Sam Houston, a lot of people are predicting he's going to have a good season, so sitting at 22 in this poll. Oregon State, Western Michigan, hey, always have to see a former team get some votes. So a lot of teams up there. That's why the others is going to be a really long list, as you can see here. This is usually going to be long anyway when you have over 100 coaches voting, but more so in the beginning of the season because there's a lot of moving around. You go from everyone being 0-0 to some of those teams being 0-0 in the top 25. What do you do with them? 0-1, 0-2, what do you do with them? And then the teams behind just, they get off to quick starts. We'll have to see. But that is the result of Block 1. And we'll see what Block 2 holds.